everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I'm Gary Mack, and I'm joined as usual this week by the lovely and talented Mr. Rich Baxter. Rich, how are you today?
Not bad, Gary. 1 week away to the big game, the Super Bowl, believe it or not. Yeah, can you believe it?
Wow, and we should be about 1 week away from spring, 10 days or so away from spring training, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. The Super Bowl's going to happen, but I don't think the opening of spring training is going to take place. And let's take a minute on the Super Bowl then, or we can wait until next week and give our picks. But I don't know if it's going to be the most exciting game. The Rams and the Bengals. Um, I don't know. I think NBC was probably hoping for something a little sexier. Even Buffalo would have been a better pick, or Kansas City with Mahomes. Cincinnati, I don't. It's not ringing my bell, at least.
Yeah, but it's a good reset for NFL. I think you have the big teams like you just mentioned, Kansas City, teams like that, superstars on it, and then you get the Cincinnati Bengals that surprised a lot of people. The last Los Angeles Rams sort of bounced back. They both had similar seasons. They 1 week they play bad, couple weeks they play good, but it was enough to play good at the time that it was needed to play good in the playoffs, of course. So Inglewood, California, going to be the home of the Super Bowl 56. And of course, that's the Los Angeles Rams home. So do you think they have a little edge in this game, maybe?
Slightly, slightly. They'll have a lot of home people there, or at least the support in the neighborhoods and around the area will be for them. So it should help them. I've never been a Rams fan. I can't. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the uniform or what. I never could. I just never liked the Rams, and um, gotta be honest, don't like the Bengals either. As a Steeler fan, I don't like the Bengals. So this is gonna be a tough game for me to watch, and but I'll check in. I haven't really watched a lot of football in the last few years. It's too much. Um, you know, I,
Schlockery.
uh, yeah, the funny thing that people all like the celebrating and everything. I hate it. I think it's ridiculous. I think they've taken it to ridiculous levels. It's okay, you catch a touchdown pass, you jump up and down, you jump on your teammates. But with all these dances and choreographed moves, and
Yeah.
you know what really did it to me was when Beckham Jr. did the dog thing with the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
I don't want to get gross, but I that really turned me off. That was the end of it for me. That's when I
that,
said, "No, this is ridiculous.
that
This
put it
is
over the edge.
that just put it over the edge for me." And um, again, the thing where a guy sacks a quarterback, but his team is losing by 30 points, and he's celebrating. No, that's not what it's all about. You did your job, and that's what you're supposed to do. I have a hard time getting over that, and that's my problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
yeah.
it's just something that's my personal deal when it comes to football.
Ticket prices for the game are astronomical. Really makes the World Series look like second fiddle. The cheapest ticket available right now $5,300. And if a fan wanted to sit in a comfortable lower level, they'd have to
Jeez.
shell out $8,870. That's open market pricing, from other fans selling their
Yeah.
tickets, of course. But a lot of money being spent out there in California, especially if you want to see the game in person. I'm happy, excuse me, to just sit at home in front of my TV with a few snacks. But I'm jealous about what the Super Bowl does and generates, um, as opposed to the World Series. I've been saying this on the show for
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah.
I know it's only one game, and it's one day, it's Sunday, it's about 3.5 hours, so they can condense it. But I gotta say, the NFL does a wonderful job with building up hype to this game, much better than the MLB
Yeah.
with the World Series.
But again, I mean, it's tough with the World Series because it's a series, and you never know when it could end. Once you get into it, if you just said we're going to play 7 games and that's it, but even that, I mean, team could win 4 games in a row, could win 6 in a row, could win 7 in a row, and with that, that would not be. You wouldn't have the build up that you have for this game. It's just tough. They're the only sport that has one game other than soccer that has one game that for all the marbles after the playoffs. Because if hockey is a series, and basketball is a series. Hockey does one thing good though. When they I can't even explain it, but they do a marvelous job using the Stanley Cup as the uh, penultimate trophy. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, they have the guys with the gloves and the security and the big case, and then they wheel it out into the ice and everything, and it's on display, and it's like a religious icon,
Right.
and it really, I don't, have you ever seen the Stanley Cup?
Yes, not in person, but I've seen pictures and
Oh,
things like that.
no, we saw it in person. I have a picture somewhere. I don't know where the heck it is now. It was out here, and it was I don't know when it was, what year, why, but they had it at a place here. We went and stood online because I live with 2 Ranger fans, and I'm an Islander fan. So they wanted to go see it for the range to see the Rangers. I wanted to go see the 4 times that the Islanders are on it.
Uh,
So we went and saw it. Had my picture taken with the Stanley Cup, and it is an amazing thing. And if you ever read the history of it, it's quite interesting, because that thing has been stolen. It's been mislaid. It's been left in bars. It's in. That's why they have such security now, because of all the history of it. But this is not the original, by the way, that you see now. This is a replica of the original. I believe is in the Hockey Hall of Fame because it was just getting too old, and it really started as a cup. The top of it was the original trophy, and then they kept adding these bands on,
uh,
with the winners and stuff. So anyway, I'm getting way off, but they do a marvelous job, um, because they're in an arena too, so it's easy, with the lighting and watch it when a team can clinch the Stanley Cup. I mean, or a Game 7. Forget it. A Game 7 is really they play it up, but they use that angle. Baseball really don't give a damn about their trophy even. I mean, it's really they should build up that trophy more, make it a better looking trophy, build it up more, and really put the emphasis on that. I mean, they could do it. They could bring out that when a team is about to clinch, bring out the trophy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the uh, I don't know, the Jackie Robinson Trophy to the winner, and then bring it out and bring it around the outfield, and they could do that. You can't do the laser lights and all that like they do in hockey, but you could do something similar. You could make it special, but it's very tough when you have a series and you really don't know how long that series is going to go.
That's true. So a little contrast in sports there. But as you said at the beginning of the show, we're not going to have any baseball to talk about in the near future. There's been virtually a blanket thrown over the whole sport by this CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. And the two sides have hit an impasse again this past week, as we all read about during the week. And it seems like there's going to be a long road to get this done.
Yeah, well, the league wanted to get federal mediators in to assist with the negotiations, and the union turned it down. They don't want federal mediators in. Um, I don't know why. From a PR point of view, they probably would have been better off accepting it. They didn't have to accept the arbitration. I don't know. I don't believe at this point, but they declined the request. So it makes them look bad again. And the MLB, the league teams, thinks that it is the most productive path toward reaching an agreement that would avoid any potential delay of the seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and they put out a statement, the league, saying our goal is to have players on the field and fans in the ballpark for spring training at opening day. With camp scheduled to open in less than 2 weeks, it is time to get immediate assistance from the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service to help us work through our differences and break the deadlock. And now that's not going to happen. So, I don't know. They're waiting for a counter offer. They say the union is, and instead of making the counter offer to what they suggested, the league wanted the mediation. So it's not a. They're stuck on a couple of things, and who knows where it's gonna go.
Yeah. That being stuck, I guess, is the reason that the MLB wanted to bring in a mediator. But of course, they did that back in '94. I did a little research where a mediator was brought in to help finish up on that work stoppage, and it was of no consequence. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, just bringing a mediator doesn't mean things are going to end, but I think it would have been good for the players to agree to it and, as you said, move on. Now, that could be two signs. Did they not agree to it because they want to come to an agreement and they're going to make some concessions with something that the MLB comes back with now? Or is it going to be more of a stone wall that they've put up, so to speak, on things that they've requested? I was reading an article by Ken Davidoff in the New York Post just today, and that pretty good article. It reads, standoff between MLB owners and union further cements grim rather spring training reality. So all it does is going to push back the start date to spring training, possibly the season, which is scheduled to start on March 31st. But the article goes on to say that it's hard to understand why a party that wants to make an agreement would reject rather mediation from the federal agency specifically tasked with resolving these disputes. That was from the MLB. Bring in a little help. What does that hurt? I think they need to meet more often. I've heard on different shows that I've been following that seem to say meet every day. come to an agreement, get this done. It's a lot of money for both sides, and it's a lot of black eyes developing. Some crowds are going with the owners. Read that from a few people, and other sides are siding against the players. So, either way, you got a bunch of people that are disappointed and upset with the sport.
Yeah, and they say the union stuck on a pair of key issues: the Super Two eligibility. Um, they want all guys with 2 years of service time to be eligible for arbitration, and now it's 22%. Um, with the most service time gets to go to arbitration, and they want the reduction in revenue sharing. Now, if I'm the owners, I think I would consider. I don't know. It's tough. If you want to keep the revenue, you're going to have to give something. So say, no, we want to keep the revenue sharing, but we'll give you the Super 2 and let them be 2 years. Let them be eligible for arbitration, but let's set a better pay scale or something. Set a pay scale then. You know what I mean? For the first 2 years or the first 3 years, and then start your arbitration. But set it so they don't feel like somebody gets gypped. For instance, you get first year player gets $1 million, second year player gets 2 million, let's say, all right?
Uh-huh.
But if that second year player wins the rookie of the year, he gets 25% more. If he wins the most valuable player, he gets 50% more. So you know what I'm saying? Something like that. There's got to be a way of figuring things with all these statistics and analytics that they have nowadays. There has to be a way of figuring things out to make it fairer for everybody. And
I think it's pretty fair the way it is. If a player comes out and bursts out with 2 good years, good for him. That can only help him if he's the real deal. But you know, the way it works is you're making a good salary, and I've followed some players that have had that Super Two type of couple years, and they always get a raise. No, they're not going to get a mansion in Bel Air right off the bat. Who can? And I equate this to private industry, a grocery store. It's making money. Everybody's employed. Everybody's happy. No, everybody's not making what the store manager makes, but they're making a living. And some people are making a good living working at a grocery store, just to say, for example. Like I think a lot of these baseball players, and I'm siding with the MLB at this point, have lost sight of true reality in the world, the United States, the way things work. They see the diamond rings, the big gold chains hanging from the necks, and is that reality? No. It's a much more stark reality, but they're trying to all become multimillionaires at one shot. I don't buy it.
well, I agree. Where else can you get a job for? And the minimum salary is 685,000 a year, or what they want to raise it to 775 or something. You just some kid coming out of college can't do that, but if he can swing a baseball bat, he can. Um,
And that's not all. When you get drafted nowadays, you're getting multi-million dollars right in the bank on a high
well,
draft pick.
not yeah, high draft pick. Yeah, yeah. Not everybody gets that, and
And they
there are
shouldn't.
there are guys. Well, no, there are guys that are struggling though that are actually quite in debt because they were a 30 round draft pick, but they want to play ball, and some of them make it. And, like a Mike Piazza, what was he, the 62nd round or something?
Yeah.
Um, but he had money, so it wasn't much of a struggle. But there are people that do struggle to make it. But no, you're right. It's they have no sense of reality when it comes to uh, what salaries are. They think they do, but they really don't. And when they say, "Well, the guy making 20 million a year," he says, "Well, we're doing this for the little guy." The little guy's making over half a million a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He's
so
not in the poorhouse.
yeah, if you can hang in there for a couple of years and be the 26th man or 25th man on a roster, uh, you can you can have a little bankroll if you're smart about it, and you see these backup catchers getting 1.2 million, and he goes, "Whoa, that's all he's getting." Well, compared to these other numbers, I, you know what? If he could play 10 years and get paid 1.2 to 2 million a year, that's not a bad bank roll to start. If he's smart about it and invests it wisely and stuff, and you can have a nice life on that.
That's true. And getting back to that article in the Post, I always like to scroll down and view the comments
Comments.
because there's a lot of smart people making comments on those articles. Here's a guy called Jim Bronx. He says, "Agree with M. Hard to feel sorry for players making millions and others sitting on the bench making hundreds of thousands. I feel more for the fans who live day to day waiting on the next paycheck. How much will all these demands cost the fans in ticket prices, stadium concession prices, etc.?" Brooklyn 55 says, "Screw the fans. That's what they should be spraying on the fields and the outfield walls. I've had it. No more buying tickets and paying inflated parking, food, and beer prices. MLB and their fanatics monopoly will not see a penny of mine spent for team apparel. I'll watch some games, hopefully before July." So, some interesting comments.
But you see what happens, Rich? They get a crowd anyway, even with these inflated prices. You can't get everybody to stay home. It'd be great if you could. We talked about the prices at the beginning of the show with the Super Bowl. Excuse me. It's the same thing. Who has $10,000 to spend on a ball game? As much as I would love to go to a Super Bowl game, it's one of the things I've never done. I would not, and if I had the money, I don't think I would do it. I mean, if I was a billionaire, that's a different story. Um, but it's the prices keep going up for, as that one guy said, parking, the tickets, the concessions, and yet people keep going. If people stayed away in droves, then maybe they all would wake up. But you know yourself, the prices never go back down. Um, it's just we want what we want, and we're willing to pay for it, and people pay for it. Um, I'm of the age now where I probably won't go to many ball games anymore. Economically, physically, it's just not that important to me. I'd rather stay at home. I have my refrigerator, my bathroom, Uh, so I don't have to go. But yet would like to go because of um, the fun of it, the enjoyment. But the prices are so high that they really take that away from you, especially parking. $25 to park a car is ridiculous. They don't even
Yeah,
park it. I'm parking. What
yeah,
what are you giving me for $25? A freaking space?
yeah. It's like they're monopolizing money on parking now. I mean, what is the expense of their own parking lot? So, yeah, that's an unnecessary gouging of the baseball consumer. And I was against it. God, I remember the last parking price I think I paid in the Philadelphia stadium there was $19. And I was like, if it goes to 20, I'm done. It probably went to 20 and
Oh
eclipsed
yeah,
that by now. But
yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting comment because You're throwing money away, hand over fist when you go to a game. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. And it's real money. It's people like us that are earning money every week, going week to week. You get out of work for a month or so, you're going to have a problem. You might lose your house, you might lose your car. You know, that's reality. That's not the baseball world.
And
But
I can remember that what happens in a lot of these games then, especially in the postseason, is that you'll hear players say it sometimes too, that the house was empty or it was quiet, it was silent. And a lot of that is because what happens in these playoffs is you get all the elites, you get the corporations that go and they use it as entertainment for their customers, and they're not really fans, but they want to say, I was at a World Series game, I went to the World Series, so
yeah,
they have the money to lay out for these games, and it's a tax write off or whatever, but then the true fan doesn't get to go. So the house isn't the same, like if you have a ruckus house, um, and then you get to a World Series and it's quiet, and then we say, where'd the fans go? Well, because that's just what happens. They price it so high that the average fan can't go. Now, baseball is a little bit more reasonable still compared to some of the other sports, but they're getting high too when it comes to the playoffs and whatnot. When I remember when I went to the World Series '86, the playoffs in the World Series, I think that they won. I had 4 seats, so I think for it was 2 World Series games and a playoff game we got, and it was um I think it was $1,200, which would broke down to $100 a seat or something, or maybe my math is wrong, but it was something. It was reasonable, in other words. The last time in 2006, it was like $4,000 for a few more games, but it was only a couple more games, and but the seats had gone up in price, and ironically, it wasn't even my same seat. You would, I had very good seats. I had mezzanine seats, row A, in Shea Stadium, and in the World Series, we were sitting way up in the upper deck, like 5 seats from, we could hear the airplane wave to the people on the airplane when it went by. So we were way up on top. So you don't even get your own seat that you have all year, unless you're a full season ticket holder. But it's the evolution of the prices, and it goes along with the evolution of the salaries. The salaries go up, the owner's going to raise ticket prices. They're going to raise, and then they're going to raise the concessionaire, what they pay to license to be there. The same thing with the parking, and that's why everything goes up, because the owner is going to charge more to all the concessionaires, and the concessionaires are going to bring it to the customer. That's why I get a kick when I hear the politicians say, "Oh well, it's really salaries are up, and the inflation isn't affecting people." Are you nuts? Of course it is. It shouldn't, or if we raise taxes on corporate taxes, it's not going to affect the consumer. Of course it is. They're not going to take a cut.
yeah,
You'll make them pay more taxes. They're going to make us pay more for the product. It's common sense.
exactly. And
You know.
I brought this story up in the last 2 days. I was looking for a dessert to bring over friends for dinner, and I figured I'd call a local bakery for a carrot cake, which I did yesterday. and they make 3 different sizes: 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12. So I'm like, let me go with the middle one. Get it all together. She says, all right, that'll be $40 when you pick it up. And I had to take a double take. I was like, $40 for a cake? I said, let me call you back. you know, I kept saying, $40 for a cake. She's like, yeah, do you want it or not? Like, take it or leave it. Like, no, I'll call you back. Thank you. So
You know,
I ended up getting
even
one in a local shopping store for a third of that price or less, quarter of
yeah,
that price.
yeah. Look, we're taking to baking our own bread here because the price
Yeah.
is
And
ridiculous. You know.
that
Uh,
looks good, by the way, that bread.
Thank you. It tastes even better. But that's how bad it's gotten. You know, flour's still cheap now.
Yeah.
They'll get on that and start raising that because they'll realize people are making their own product now. But it's it's a sign of the times, and these guys don't. I don't think the union looks. It's not a good look for them to turn down this mediation because it just makes them look greedy, and they can come out and say whatever they want to say, that why they're doing it. It still makes them look greedy. Like that one comment said, it's hard to feel sorry for guys making millions of dollars and guys sitting on the bench making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not
Yeah,
easy to feel sorry for them.
that's true. Baseball is a game of rituals and superstitions and things like that. I found this article this morning on the St. Louis Post Dispatch page. Nice baseball sports coverage there. Derek Gould is one of the writers there in that newspaper. But this article is by a guy named Benjamin Hotchman. And he says, this week I normally fly to Florida. It's my favorite time of baseball season, the beginning of the beginning, the week or so before pitchers and catchers officially report. And it goes on to say all about spring training and the writers that go down to spring training, which obviously they're not doing right now. And it's a great article. If you get a chance to check it out, it's entitled Hotchman, Spring is Stuck as Lockout Looms. Cardinal Spring Training Loses Its Ritual of Rhythm. And it's pretty neat because it'll say, he'll describe about like the clubhouse. I'll read a little bit here. Inside the clubhouse, the red practice jerseys hang on display in front of the lockers. To the left is the big league side, jerseys featuring famous names with tidy numbers. To the right is the minor league side, unrecognizable names and numbers that look like the weekly Florida forecast. Ball players, let's see here. Ball players are scattered about. In a way, it's like the first day of school, but instead of what did you do last summer, it's what did you do last winter. Millionaires eat catered food off of paper plates. Players unpack bags of belongings into their lockers, a new glove or shiny gloves or cleats. So it goes on to describe what happens at spring training from the writer's viewpoint. So it's a pretty interesting article, but now nobody can experience that kind of stuff.
Well, we will have minor league camp opening, and we'll see how if people go down for that. I would imagine if you go down to Florida, you're going to go down if you're a snow bunny or whatever. But that's what we're going to have. We're going to have minor league baseball, and you almost got to wonder would the owners consider the replacement players again? Remember the replacement players? When was that?
Yeah.
94 or whatever?
Yeah.
It was kind of a disaster. The play was not good, but they did settle. So I don't know if they would go that route again. Um,
Well, that would take a
I,
long time, I would think, to do. Um,
yeah.
but right now, with no end in sight, it's one thing that's probably on the table. They probably have contingency plans of bringing players in. There's a chance
Well,
for me
you.
and you, Gary. get our glove out and start spring
I
training.
I would need a pinch runner at home plate, a pinch, um, or a Segway or something. No, those days are those days are long gone. I'm feeling those days now. Believe me.
Never say never.
Oh my gosh. What I would give to play one more time in pain free, but that's not going to happen. So, um, just not made for that. But you had another story, Rich, that popped up about the Tampa Bay Rays that we actually missed a few weeks ago or last week.
Yeah, we missed this story mid-January with us covering the strike or the lockout, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays had an interesting plan of a split season, and they wanted to play a lot of their games in Montreal. They had presented this to Major League Baseball, and of course, we know that the Tampa Bay Rays have been looking around for either a new stadium or to move out of Tampa in general because of lack of fan support. But ownership had been shot down for that. They wanted to have a split season, a lot of games played up in Montreal. And interestingly enough, Gary, the Rays have been one of the most successful small market teams in the
Mm-hmm.
past 5 years.
Yeah, but their attendance has been very poor, and the field is not, the best. And
Yeah.
the odd part about that is that they, let's see, hosted a team surpassed only by Miami and the A's, and Miami's got a nice new stadium. I mean, fairly new now. It's a few years old, but the A's need a new stadium as well. And where is Major League Baseball? They should be leaning on these cities a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And I've been down to the Tampa Stadium, not inside though, but it's a necessity to have a covered stadium down there simply because of all the rain that they get. And we remember games being played in Miami without the dome stadium, and we
Hmm.
we have that memory of players just absolutely sweating beyond belief. Um, and that was crazy for teams to put up with, but Miami got it right. They put a nice new stadium down there. Still, now the contrast of teams. Miami is accused of tanking all the time, and they certainly have showed that they've been getting rid of players that have a decent playing opportunities. They trade them. They're happy and content with being towards the bottom, so to speak, even though they got the new stadium. So that's a little contention within the agreement. But the Rays, on the other hand, small market team, and they've been producing absolutely amazing ball clubs with very low salaries. So contrasting the two teams, I'm not so sure. Uh, they keep talking about teams that are tanking all the time. Are they really tanking, or is it a business model to go by because they know they're going to get paid anyway from MLB and the revenue from TV? Uh, that's interesting, though.
Yeah, whether it's an obvious tank job or is it that they bring up their AAA or AA pitchers to pitch and get hammered, knowing that they're going to get hammered. Um, who knows? I can't see anybody deliberately going out there to lose. But I guess it does happen, and but nobody's ever gonna say it. And if it's that obvious, then baseball should do something about it. But uh, the sister city concept thing. I don't know. I could see if it was like Tampa and St. Pete or something that got together, but Tampa and Montreal makes no sense. But I get the idea, and but wouldn't it be? I mean, then you need two ballparks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they're only going to have a half a schedule. And, I guess you'd play the April, May, and something like that games in Tampa, and then the June, July, August games in Montreal. I guess that's how they would work it. And September and October be back to Tampa, something like that. I don't know. That's hard to maintain a fan base that way, I think. And then what are they gonna? You gonna call them the Tampa Bay Rays playing in Montreal? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand they're trying to make revenue and they don't have a park, but I don't know what's wrong with these cities. Excuse me, that keep turning down. They want an area, and the city says no. We don't want you to have that area. We want you to have this area, and maybe they're not afraid of losing a team. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's the obvious choice.
Yeah. It seems like baseball in general wants like panoramic views of the city or the natural resources, to play in with the broadcasts of games. I think that goes a little far, especially in a team and a zone like Florida that's going to have a domed stadium anyway.
Hmm.
What? Who cares if it's down near the waterfront or anything? Do what they do in most cities. You take a big portion of the parking lot that you used for your current stadium, you build up a new one, scrap the old one, make that the parking lot, and you move on.
Well,
That's
I think part of it though too is they claim that part of the low attendance is because of the area of the city that the ballpark is in. I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that, but that could be a part of it. Uh, I mean, I don't know if the Polo Grounds was still standing here, whether that neighborhood you would want to go to a ball game at night, for instance, it wasn't in the
yeah.
best of areas. Yankee Stadium for years people didn't go because of there was a crime problem in the area. They managed to fix that somewhat, and the new stadium's a lot different. But um,
I like
yeah,
it.
location does play. I mean, Shea Stadium was always in a decent area off by itself. So you're kind of well, you've went to games there, so there's
Yeah.
nothing really around it. They're trying to build stuff around it, and it'll be created neighborhood almost. So that'll be a reasonably safe area, but it's that kind of thing that sometimes you just can't put it in a certain location unless you have the unless you have the commitment, like you said, at the waterfront or something. If it's an industrial area and you have the commitment to build it up and put restaurants and make it like Atlanta did with the and Texas did with making almost like a little city around it with
The only thing the
restaurants.
only thing they didn't do is the parking though in Atlanta, and that's a
Well,
shame for the fans.
and the mass transit as well
Yeah.
going there. Um, so
I think Philadelphia hasn't been said much, but Philadelphia's idea of sports stadiums is great in my opinion because you can walk from the Philly Stadium to the Eagle Stadiums right across the
yeah,
street, literally
yeah.
right across the street. A block over to your right is where the Sixers and the Flyers play, the
Hmm.
Wells Fargo Center, and these are big places, so they all
Yeah,
share one another's parking when the sports are in play, and it sort of works out wonderfully.
yeah,
They're getting a lot of money for parking, like we were talking earlier, but all the sports stadiums are in one zone, which makes it very convenient.
yeah. I think that's a good idea, and they should do more. people should do that. But I guess you got to have the area too. You got to have is there area by, like, for instance, where the Lightning play in Tampa Bay, who were very successful, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is, you would think a hockey team wouldn't be that successful. They're very successful down there, and they've won Stanley Cups, and um, yeah, they should try to build something near there or whatever. I know that there was talk here of taking part of Shea Stadium. Listen to me, City Field parking lot when the Islanders were looking to build their own building, and they were going to take part of the parking lot and build a building that fell through. Did build a building, but they built it by the Belmont racetrack, the famous Belmont racetrack. So now they're over there, but still on Long Island though. But over by different area. So but I guess it's not the draw that it used to be when cities used to want to pay to. Oh, we'll pay for the infrastructure. They want the teams to pay more because they claim they don't make that much back. I don't see how they don't. The I don't know.
Well, we'll
We'll
certainly
see
have
how it
our
goes.
yeah. Well, if you want to support us, speaking of support and things like that, we could use your support. Just go to anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. It's all one word. There you can see our support button right in the middle of the page. If you're watching the YouTube version of the show on our YouTube channel, I got it up on the screen for you. Make it easy. You can listen to our podcast right on Spotify, all of our other areas that you can hear the show on. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can message us, send us a message, and hit that support button. That's the most important thing we would like you to do. 99 cents a month is a minimum donation. $4.99 if you're feeling great, and $9.99 will get you a mention on our show every week if you want to put your name and email address number and card number in there. It's all processed by Stripe, which is top of the line security, and it helps us get some equipment for the show and things like that. So encourage I want to have a couple people out there hit that support button for us. We'll issue a sort of a fun plan to see if we can get anybody to sign up by March 1st. Let's give it a deadline because nothing else is working. But visit us there. That's our home for the show. And Gary, of course, has his own Mets Musings podcast. I have my Phillies Talk podcast. You can go over to the Baseball Talk Radio, baseballtalkradio.com, rather, and you can see all of our shows there and a whole lot more. I'm adding more and more every week. We've got some big shows mixed in with the bunch as well now. And let's take a look at it. Cardinals Baseball Talk there with Derek Gould. Really great show. Baseball PhD, long running show. And we've had them on our show here. And we've been on their show. Bird's Eye View, longtime Baltimore, tongue-in-cheek type of broadcast. Here's a couple new ones. Chin Music, it's a baseball talk show. The Chris Rose Rotation Show, you may remember him from MLB Network. Cleveland Baseball Talk. And, of course, we have a new name for them, the Guardians, so I'm not so sure that they may not rename this, but we'll see. But a new Cubs podcast called The Friendly Confines, Giants talk there, and a whole lot more. Lost Baseball Ballparks podcast. They talk about old stadiums and things. There's Gary's show at Mets Musings. So check it out over at baseballtalkradio.com. And that's the same as baseballpodcast.net. We'd love to see you stop in there and check out all the great podcasts that there are to offer there.
Tons of them. Enjoy them all. Go listen to them. And also, Rich was talking about supporting us through Anchor. You can also support us through Patreon. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/baseball talk. So go check us out there as well. And there's a Facebook page, facebook.com baseball talk radio show. Go check it out. Like the page, join the page, and you'll get to know when a new show comes out. And we do audio and video, so go check us out on YouTube as well. And hit that like button and subscribe button. And again, so you know when a new episode is coming out. And with this strike, Rich, things could get a little sporadic.
Maybe, but we've been making good time of it so far. And I'm working on a special presentation on the Fanatics Corporation. And if you're familiar with them, and you have to be if you're a guy that's bought a shirt or a hat or some sort of memorabilia in the past year or two, going to work on that. It's a fascinating story on how they've sort of cornered the market on sports memorabilia, and they're branching into other areas as well. So
Yeah.
working on that for upcoming show. And Gary, I think we filled this time well, and want to tell our folks out there that listen, have a great week. Keep watching the news, stay safe, wash those hands, wear the masks, and hopefully we won't have to say that one day.
And stay warm. And if you're not vaccinated, talk to your doctor about it and consider getting it. And if you are, just like Rich said, keep, doing what you got to do to be safe. And Rich, I'll see you next week.
All right, take care.